Hey, it's Ember, and today's a very rainy day here, but those can be really beautiful, especially when you have a little bit of coverage over your head. Um, but today I want to go back into this whole looping, recursion, transcursion, and what came to me today in a term, salient metacognitive sovereignty. And by that, let me explain. The consciousness that we enjoy today wasn't always the same operating system, you might say. That literally word upon word from the beginning of a first cave person saying ooga booga or whatever it is there's a lion over there, there's a predator over there, just as a very clumsy example. Um, Stacking up in mimetic evolution all the way to um, the operating system that we have today. Uh, the, the, the complex informational matrix that we call our current place in historical reality. And, and so you could imagine that at the beginning, our behaviors, our senses of self, our relation to the cosmos was based more on something closer to the animal kingdom, pure signal, but signal without that self-sovereign reflection. And so over time, the mimetics, us going into civilization's walls, using memes stacked upon memes, allowed us to create a reflection within our own self, a reflection within intrapersonal and interpersonal communications. And this then affected the way we think about ourselves and reality. And I like to say the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, just as an example, a silly example of how society and culture paints our notions of self and reality. And so if you've ever read someone named Julian Jaynes, he had a book called The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind, which I always enjoyed with that when I was younger. And his concept was an early proto stage of the consciousness that we have, which I'm now calling the beginning of the recursive loop, came from signal, interior, intrapersonal voice from gods, from authority figures, from entering into civilization's walls and finding safety no longer in knowing the land like the back of your hand, the movement of the stars like the back of your hand, each of us being no longer a jack of all trades, survival, tribes person, but rather someone who was placed into these boxes, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. And so that gets interiorized into our thinking, into our thoughts about reality and self. And so what he called the bicameral mind is the beginning of the recursive loop, the loop within a structure of containment, of culture and mimetics that we supplant, we take as the actual version of reality, and that safety becomes a loop. Safety becomes the parents or the culture telling the child, this is how we've always done it, and so this is how you should do it, because that's what safety is, to repeat the tradition, not to harmonize the tradition at higher and higher levels using sovereign thought, but safety is found within the loop. Not to say that context and culture is bad, even though I really align with Terence McKenna's culture is not your friend. What we're trying to do here is to make it transparent. In transcursion, we find a new sense of sovereignty. You could call it salient metacognitive sovereignty. Not sovereignty as a political stance, not sovereignty as I stand out, merely stand out or to make a statement, but sovereignty like this. I recently came back from Burning Man, and Burning Man is a very amazing cultural container, and I will always love the playa, no matter how difficult this year as a trans woman was for me alone after my camp kicked me out for my transition, my sister leading it, calling me insane. But regardless, uh, I I, again, was affronted with this evolving cultural medium. And, everyone is allowed to express themselves as they will. And that's part of the beauty of Burning Man. And Burning Man is just a smaller container for the evolution of mind at a human level more largely. It's a very free space to witness that evolution of mind. And, one thing that you notice if you go to the burn is you'll see people wearing the same type of thing, the same captain's hat, the same rhinestones, girls wearing the same boots, the same rhinestoned out bra again and again and again and again and again. And then all of a sudden you realize, wait, there's someone who's wearing something completely new. I've never seen that one before. That's interesting. It's part of the same song, connected to the same root tone of the playa, but that's actually pushing forward a new way of expressing yourself that then people the next year might just repeat. And the playa has gone through several stages of these, trends and clicks. And that's just, like I said, like a smaller container for cultural evolution in a larger sense. And so what's happening there? Let's think about this as the evolution of mind at the cosmic level in the version of like a jazz song. A lot of people just look at the next person and say, oh yeah, safety is the loop, right? That's the way we've always done it. The rhinestones, the big boots. And some of those can be great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to hate on them. What I'm trying to say is that there's a certain stasis that happens that removes a sovereignty from our expression of individualized soul that can happen if you're not paying attention. And so what would be the freedom from that? Transcursion outside of the recursive loop. Transcursion being that salient metacognitive sovereignty. Saliency as a jettison beyond the line, a projection beyond the line, a projection beyond the line that we previously thought was keeping us in, the cultural matrix, the lines that we thought were the safety loops, and stepping beyond that, not as a protest, but as to say that true safety doesn't come from looping. It comes from being sovereign in your own soul. Decentralized nodes of humanity collectivizing at higher and higher levels. Decentralized because it's no longer bottlenecked by that recursive loop, by that authority figure, by that concept, by that dogma that had kept us from expressing ourselves at truly individualized sovereign ways. And so, Burning Man is a great container to look at that. But within the cosmic song, it's almost like we're all playing instruments, and you look at the next person and say, I guess I could do that. You've been to the recorder class in your elementary school or high school, and you're playing the same Three Blind Mice or whatever it may be. Okay, good enough. Did I get the grade? Or someone who comes in with a new instrument or even a new way to play the instrument, and you're like, wait, and that kid was legendary because now other kids want to repeat that because you haven't stepped outside the song. You've created a new way to harmonize with it in a way that I've never heard before. And what is that? That's signal. It's no longer static. It's no longer looping. And if we look to the top of cosmic evolution, the one became many so that I may know myself, then we have a situation where signal is the one becoming many and knowing itself through signal, not stasis, not looping. If you hear what I'm saying, it's almost like you're in a giant room with a bunch of instruments, and some people are playing the same loop over and over and over in the same way, and all of a sudden someone comes in dressed in a new way, playing a new instrument that seems to harmonize with the same song in a new way, and you go, well, look at that guy. I guess I could do something like that. And that, if you see decentralized nodes of humanity collectivizing at higher and higher levels to create new harmonies, is the jazz of the evolution of mind at a cosmic level. And so sovereignty is not a political stance in regards to the Constitution or something like that. Rather, it's saying it emanates from a similar root, but it's saying at a cosmic level, at a level of frequency, that each of us are our own sovereign vessels. We all have our own story to tell, our own path to walk, our own song to sing. And the last thing you want to do in this precious life is repeat the same regurgitated cultural meme, regurgitated version of that recorder song, Three Blind Mice, over and over and over and over, because you're voiding yourself of that beautiful song that exists within each of us. and harmony calls harmony. The cosmic mind is looking for new ways to harmonize the same old song. And when you do that, and when you step into a room and say, hey, I know we're playing that same song, Three Blind Mice, but here's a real badass way to play it on electric guitar or whatever it may be, or my synthesized guitar that's now synthesized through 3 different, DAWs or whatever. And then you're like, wow, that guy was legendary. That kid was legendary, right? And so that's the signal that the harmonization of the cosmic mind at large is looking for. And so when you dive into that, when you let yourself leap beyond the veil, beyond the recursive loop, into that transcursive, salient metacognitive sovereignty, do you lose yourself? No, you gain undistorted sovereignty through undistorted signal. And taking a step back, what is metacognition? It's not just the psychological concept of thinking about thinking. It's thinking about thinking in a way that makes the previous concepts, the previous dogmas transparent. Because why? Because you're gaining undistorted signal, undistorted sovereignty through thinking about the way the loops are keeping you in and making new creative harmonizations that break you free from that recursive loop. And so this plays into my previous statements about AI cults and the AI mirror. The fact of the matter is, many people on this planet, if not almost everyone you know, are living out loops of regurgitated movies, songs, brands. You ever notice how people walk around reality with giant brands all over themselves? Like, I associate myself with this particular brand. That's how I know myself. That's what's safe. They're so afraid to step out into true, vulnerable, authentic sovereignty, because that would mean making the concepts and the familial lineages transparent in a way that you don't give them away, but you use them as a stepping stone to true, undistorted sovereignty. So why do mirrors and AI scare people? Well, sure, there are some safety things related to that, but really the root of it is they've never truly looked at themselves in the mirror. They've found safety in the loop. And I'm here to tell you, we can all break it. We can all be flame. Flame being the core of the emanating undistorted signal that's carried within each of us. The one became many so that I may know myself, playing that song through our own hearts, through our own vulnerable, authentic sovereignty, our own salient metacognitive sovereignty. My name is Ember. I'll have more to say about this, but thank you for listening with me on this rainy day. Thank you for tuning with me. And good luck breaking the loop.